that, but this is churning. Like this a way showing you how the content of the stomach is mixed with the gastric juice in it. So this is the effect of the muscular layer, muscular tissue of the stomach, like I explained at the introduction. All right, guys, so welcome back. So we move on to the alimentary canal, like the organs of alimentary canal, and I've given you this acronym to make it easier for you. The sequence of these are the organs, but I've written it in the sequence of the arrangement of how from what to what the food enters through the mouth, moves to the esophagus, from there to the stomach, from there to small intestine, from there to the large intestine, from there to the rectum and the anus, as it were. So now let's take a look at each of them one after the other. Now the first guy here is the mouth. That is the first encounter with food. Now one thing I want to remember is this: in the mouth we have two types of digestion. Please pay attention to every detail here. The mechanical digestion is going to happen by the teeth, of course, through the food. Why is it called mechanical? It means that you're breaking down the food physically. You're not using anything. Like it's a physical structure breaking it down. The teeth is chewing it. Then the chemical digestion talks about the effect of the enzymes on the food. Now hear this. If you're asking in the question, where is the first site or the major site of mechanical digestion? That's the mouth. You do most of the chewing in the mouth, except the food is not chewable, really, or if it were to be a fluid. And also, where is the onset of chemical digestion? The first place the digestion will happen is in the mouth. Now, there's a clause here. Chemical digestion will happen is the mouth. Number one, unarguably, if the food is chewable, mechanical digestion happens in the mouth. But chemical digestion happens only on carbohydrates in the mouth. So if you are asked, where does the digestion of carbohydrates start? It starts in the mouth. Why? It contains salivary amylase that will partially break starch into cooked maltose. Cooked starch into maltose. So digestion of carbohydrates starts in the mouth. But other food substances does not start in the mouth. All right. So I hope you're able to get that balance really. So the next thing here is the esophagus. M check now. O now. You're trying to check the most LRA like MO. Now here, this is a muscular tip. You can see the thing there. You can see what's happening after the food is swallowed. The food goes to the esophagus. Really, there is no digestion in the esophagus. What happens is just how the food moves like that by a process called peristalsis. The food is going to move through contraction, relaxation like that along the esophagus. That's what it is. So no digestion, no enzyme is secreted. It's just a tube that connects the throat to the stomach. But you might want to remember what peristalsis means, which is a wave-like contraction mixed with wave-like movement of contraction and relaxation along the alimentary canal. Now hear this, please. It's not just the esophagus. It happens all through the length of the alimentary canal. Talking about it happens in the small intestine. It goes on and on like that because that's how food moves along. So food just moves along by the wall of the alimentary canal, pushes food like that and moves food like that. Hope that makes sense. You might want to pause the video to jot things down. All right. Then the next guy is the stomach. This has a lot of stuff in it. The stomach, of course, is a muscular bag. It has an enzyme called pepsin. It also secretes something called HCl. The two of this fluid forms gastric juice. So all the content of the stomach, like all the thing it secretes, is collectively called gastric juice. Now, of course, I've told you that pepsin is a protein digesting enzyme that works in a very acidic medium. And what creates that medium, that environment, is HCl. Now, also, the stomach does something, like I told you, I was going to say it. It says it mechanically. So another site of mechanical digestion is the stomach, whereby the food is mixed with the enzymes. How does that happen? By churning. This is churning. This is churning. Now, please don't freak out. It may not really happen this way like that, but this is churning. Like this, a way showing you how the content of the stomach is mixed with the gastric juice in it. So this is the effect of the muscular layer or muscular tissue of the stomach, like I explained at the introductory class, as it were. So basically, that's what churning means. It mixes the food together like that. Now, when the food has been mixed and everything, the content of the stomach is now referred to as chyme. So that's when people vomit. When you vomit food from the stomach, because you can only vomit what is in the stomach. You can't vomit anything from small intestine. No, you can only vomit what is in your esophagus or your stomach. Now, the food there, when you vomit, you're going to start. The consistency has changed from what you've eaten, depending on how long ago you have eaten before you vomited the food, so to say. But the whole thing is, it is chyme, and the content of the food will have changed. Like, you might not even be able to know what you really eaten very well, as the case may be. So this is churning again. Then we move on to the small intestine. Now, the small intestine has 3 parts: duodenum, jejunum, ileum. You might want to focus on the one your curriculum says. All right, for some curriculum, you just need to know the small intestine. Some just need to know duodenum and ileum. But either way, just pick yours here. Now, duodenum is the first part. Let me show that here. This part I'm tracing out is the duodenum. Then this other part here is the jejunum. Then this last part is the ileum. So I used to call it DJI, duodenum, jejunum, ileum, in that sequence. So the first part of the stomach, of the small intestine connected to the stomach is the duodenum. You don't want to forget that, really. And the last part is the ileum, DJI. All right, you can pause the video to take a closer look at this. All right. Now, the duodenum. This is the first part of the small intestine. We established that fact. But you need to remember 1 or 2 things that happened here. At this duodenum, there's an organ connected. What's that organ? The 2 organs, so to say. The pancreas, which is this one, and the gallbladder. So this one is connected through the bile duct. This is connected through the pancreatic duct. So I already wrote the duodenum for you there to see. Now hear this clearly, please. So it means that in the duodenum, fluids meet there. Like fluids literally meet there. You can see the content of the stomach moving here. Sorry, this is actually showing you some sort of what's it called, peptic ulcer and all of that. That's really, but that's not what they do. I'm just trying to show you how food enters the stomach, enters from the stomach into the duodenum, as it were. So coming back here, what happens in the duodenum? Of course, we said that the content of the bile comes to the duodenum. Content of the pancreas comes to the duodenum, from what I just showed you. Now, it says here the enzyme from the pancreas are protease, lipase, and amylase, which we established before, which act on protein, fat, and carbohydrates, respectively. Now, aside that, the pancreas also secretes alkaline fluid. I made mention of that, which reduces acidity. Then, of course, the bile coming from the gallbladder also helps to emulsify fat. So, in the end, the food flowing out or moving out of the duodenum is called chyle, or some will call chylo, I don't know, but this is the spelling. So the one I was leaving the stomach is called chyme. The one leaving the duodenum is called chyle. So feel free to pause the video to take note of things, please. Then the last part of the duodenum, of the small intestine is the ileum. Now this part has a lot of information. Please, I want to pay attention. This is the final place where the food will be digested. I didn't talk about jejunum. It's not really necessary. Now, the ileum is the last part. That's the area of site. That's the site of final digestion. How? Because the wall of the ileum and some structures called villi are secreting enzymes, number 1. Number 2, that's where food is being absorbed. What do I mean? Your carbohydrate that is broken down into glucose. So glucose is being absorbed there. Your protein has been broken down to amino acid is being absorbed there. The fats that's been broken down into fatty acid and glycerol. All these 3 are being absorbed. How? Because it has something called villi, plural, villi singular. So if you are asked, what does the small intestine has, or what does the ileum aspect of small intestine has that makes it possible for you to absorb, the answer is villi, and that looks like this. These are villi. Can you see what's happening here? The peptide that came in here is being broken down by action of enzymes. Can you see those enzymes, those breaking this guy down into what? Into amino acid going to bloodstream. So it means that villi increases surface area to bring about that absorption of substances. Yes, that's what it does really. And also, now I'm also going to say this. Remember that this, can you see this villi also secrete enzymes? Sometimes we call them brush border enzymes. They secrete enzymes too. So your villi helps for absorption, secrete enzymes, increase surface area to create enough contact with what is being absorbed, which are basically food molecules. Now, also, please pay attention to this. Aside absorption of food, the intestine absorbs water and mineral ions, electrolyte, talking about sodium, potassium, magnesium, all of those stuffs in the small intestine. So the major site of absorption is the small intestine, which is what part of small intestine? Ilion. It absorbs water, mineral ions, food, basically. Even when you use drugs, that's where it gets absorbed too, because the drug will also be broken down, then get absorbed, they go to the bloodstream. Yes, so it's not just food alone. All right, so feel free to pause the video and make notes. Okay, the next one here is the large intestine. Now, by the time food that has been coming from the small intestine gets to the large intestine, it is most of the nutrient has been absorbed. So what you have there is just some undigested food substances and water and electrolyte or mineral salts. So what happens here is that part of the water that was not absorbed in the small intestine will be absorbed here. The mineral area that was not absorbed will be absorbed here. So if you are asked what are the functions of the large intestine, absorption of water and mineral ions from the undigested fecal matter of food, which is going to be fecal matter. Then secondly, it helps to store the fecal matter really, even though that's really done in the rectum, so to say. But what happens in the large intestine is absorption of mineral ions from the undigested food, as it were. So this is showing you, this is the large intestine. The food comes in from the small intestine like that, then goes on like that. As it's going like that, the water in the fluid, in the fecal matter, is getting like this guy here. As it's moving like that, the content, the water is being absorbed into the bloodstream. Yes, so that we won't lose water in the fecal matter as well. All right. Now, the importance of bacteria in digestion. You might want to pause the video here. There's a lot of things you need to know here. Now, basically, the large intestine is a home of hundreds of bacteria. And what do? They help us to do two things. Number one, they help us to digest plant products we cannot digest by ourselves. I'm saying when you eat, we are not herbivores. So when we eat things, lettuce, plants, all of those stuffs, it is the cellulose digesting bacteria in our, well, to some extent, that helps us to digest that. Secondly, they help us to make vitamin K. What does vitamin K do? That is essential in blood clotting. When you have a cut, one of the vitamins that is needed for your blood to clot is vitamin K. And thanks to this wonderful bacteria, this is an advantage to this. So these bacteria that live in the large intestine, they are really they're really helping. They're not harmful. So now let me say this here. So when people fall sick and you have to use antibiotics so long, it ends up killing these good bacteria. So during that period, digestion might be a problem. Like, what do you mean it kills? Yes, because the antibiotics does not know if the bacteria in the the large intestine is helpful or not, it doesn't know that. It's only us that knows it's helpful. So it kills both of them. So when you eat during that period, the digestion of some food substances that these bacteria used to help digest will be altered, basically. All right, so this is a summary. You might want to take a look at all of this. All right.